In the beginning of Joseph's story, he was abused and abandoned by the very people who should have protected him. From the well to enslavement to imprisonment, Joseph went through muck and mar. After it all, he has ascended to second in command over all of Egypt. Now, in Genesis 45, he has all the power, he has the economy, and he stands before his brothers as judge and executioner. We know that Joseph and his brothers have gone through transformation since the very beginning. He himself has gone through transformation through his own pit, but his brothers have as well. Joseph is more of a servant king than a prideful teenager now. Joseph's brothers are less self-serving, more concerned with the well-being of the family. In the middle of Genesis 45, instead of shouts of anger, Joseph weeps loudly before his brothers. Not tears of anger, but tears of healing. You'll notice as you read this chapter that the word forgiveness never shows up, but the concept is on full display. Joseph's third session of weeping is different than the ones before. He does not hide himself away. He doesn't kind of tidy himself up. Instead, he does it openly, loud enough for his brothers to hear, for the Egyptian servants to hear, and even for Pharaoh's house to hear. Instead of hiding his tears and identity, now he reveals his true identity to his brothers. Upon telling his brothers that he is Joseph, likely speaking in their native language now, the brothers are speechless. The man who stands before them as ruler over Egypt and who has been skeptical of them the entire time is actually Joseph, their younger brother, whom they thought dead by their own hands. In the middle of the story, they are likely thinking they have come to the end of their story. But instead, Joseph offers forgiveness. How could Joseph get to this point? In Genesis 45, he will say this, "Now, do not be upset and do not be angry with yourselves because you sold me here, for God sent me ahead of you to preserve life." Joseph forgave his brothers because he entrusted his life to God and his judgment. In our new beginning as Jesus followers, we are to forgive on a regular basis. Forgiveness is the air Christians breathe. Jesus teaches that we are to forgive our siblings endlessly. Though this is true, forgiveness is still very otherworldly. It is very much countercultural. So what are the elements of forgiveness then? Forgiveness is the acknowledgement that God is a better judge than I am. Forgiveness is the acknowledgement that God is a better judge than you are. When we forgive, we relinquish the role of judge over our offender, giving that person totally to God's hands. This does not mean that we refrain from wisdom, nor does it mean that reconciliation has taken shape, but it does mean we now look at the offender with eyes of compassion. Jesus' use of forgiveness is profound. For as he was on the cross, he told the Father to forgive his murderers and scoffers, for they did not know what they were doing. So how can we choose forgiveness today? It's recognizing God's nearness to our wounds and his good power over the world. On the 10th anniversary of the shooting that took place at a church in Charleston, South Carolina, the national news interviewed some of the people who survived the shooting. They were in the church when a man came in and killed 9 of their friends and family members. Their remembrance of the event sounds Joseph-like. One of the ladies who was at the church during the shooting said it was so strange in that room. That evil was clearly present, but God was too. She said there were 2 different lights in that room that day. There was one from the laser on the man's gun, but there was another light. And one of the other survivors nodded in agreement. The woman went on to say, "I have no doubt God was in the room with us." The reporter kind of responded a little bit dumbfounded, "Even with all that loss?" And the survivor said, "I have no doubt God was in the room with us." She was later asked by the reporter how she could come to a place to forgive the murderer of their family. And I love it because this mother of the church said something so profound. She said, "There is no healing with hatred. You have to love each other. That is our second commandment." This, church, is the power of redemption and forgiveness. So may we choose forgiveness with such a gut reaction like we choose to breathe air.